Okay, I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. First item, we have an assignment request for council action. 13207 budget amendment, 13208 advance request from Fund 001 to Fund 125, 13209 MCRC part-time pay scale amendment, 13210 2014 membership renewal to Main Street, Medina, 13211 authorizing payment greater than $3,000 fire department, 13212 authorizing payment greater than $3,000 the service department, 13213 authorizing payment of greater than $3,000 for fire department again, 13214 reconsideration of net profit tax Montville JED, 13215 amending section 13301 association memberships for the economic development department, 13216 amend joint operating agreement with United City Schools, 13217 Moms Group Playground, 13218 purchase agreement with Sonic Temple property, 13219 amending ordinance 11613 change order 425 Orchard Lane, and 13220 amending ordinance 11713 change order 564 South Broadway. Okay, we're gonna move them first. Yeah, we'll do that. We're gonna move the agenda around a little bit. We're gonna start with number 12, which is the 13217 discussion of the Moms Group Playground proposal. Because I see many members out there, and I don't know if I guess, Mike, are you handling the Parks Department now too?
Yeah.
Do you want to start, or have them jump in, or however you want to do it?
Yes, please. Tim's last day at council, he was talking about the Moms Group and how much they've been donating since 2009 towards this playground right in Greenwood. The existing playground have had injuries, different things, so they've started collection and asking for donations since 2009, and have got $6,260.48 donated towards the project. Initially came to me with a playground idea. It was about $41,000. It was a dome. Had John, the superintendent, look at it. Really didn't think it was feasible for the area, especially with the cables on it and things. So the Moms Group agreed to go ahead and look through a couple other brochures and found a lot better project. Two of them actually, two playgrounds for less than the initial cost of $41,000, and that's what we want to get approved, or at least put on the agenda tonight to talk about. They've done a good job of collecting the money. The last check they introduced was the $253.46 back on the 10/4/2013, and they're also with the project and getting the new playground features. They're going to bring in assistants, volunteers to assemble the playgrounds, and the city will help in different areas that they can, taking out the whole playground and preparing the area for the new playgrounds. It's actually two of them. One of the units is a smaller unit, which still paid for with their funds, which we're requesting a refund back to the Moms Group so they can buy the smaller unit, and then the city would fund the larger unit for the just under $25,000.
Just a couple questions on funding of that before we start. Would that be used to carry forward funds, or?
Out of the Parks Department, yes.
So I don't know the number of carry forward funds you have in your department. And I don't know if it's all carry forward. Would you say let that Ward 4, how much?
I think from the leftover money in Ward 4 for the open space from the splash pad that we did there, there's probably under 10,000, Keith, you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, I'm sure it's under 10.
Yeah, I know there's not much, but I'd be fine with putting that money toward this then too, whatever's left in Ward 4.
And I think maybe the appropriate way is, since we're gonna be buying a new piece of equipment to go on city property, the Public Properties Committee should determine what piece of equipment that should be. Since the Parks Department is gonna contribute to carry forward funds, but we need to nail it down exactly whatever's gonna be the best long-term, and I know there's different, as you mentioned, different ideas, but I think you need to nail down exactly the size, the use, and how long it's gonna last, and things of that type. Because every vendor is gonna be different.
Absolutely.
We certainly have time. I mean, we're not gonna do anything till spring, right?
Right, we can't put it up till spring anyway, though, I imagine, because you can't put it up in the winter.
But weren't you getting a special discount or something?
Yeah, the discount by December 20th, we have to have had a check payment made to the company for this grant proposal, what they call it. I attached the sheet to the new stuff, so you'll probably see it on the next financial agenda if we're not voting on it tonight. And it has the comparisons of what the cost of the units are, existing retail, and what, with the discount, and what they pitch in. They have 9 units that they get from that company, and they're allowed to do these special promotions with those 9 units.
I think they should look at that, because I know the special promotions happen all different vendors. This is not just the only one that's gonna happen. There'll be another special promotion, it'll be.
There's been a lot of comparisons. We've gone through a lot of brochures and looked at a lot of different playground features. That's what range for the one, and then all ages for the second unit.
And Mike, did you say Don did go down and take a look at things?
Yes,
and-
absolutely. Yeah, he's been involved in the whole process.
Well, how do you wanna handle this then? I mean, I know this is your department here, I mean, do you wanna look at it and pick it and bring it back, or how do you wanna do it?
So we have until December 20th. If we did a public properties meeting where Don came and we just had a chance to look at it a little bit more, we could still get it done by December 20th.
I'd be okay with that, because I just had a chance to look at it this afternoon, and that was it.
I'm fine with that, Jim.
Okay, so we will do a meeting here in the next week and a half, public properties,
Okay.
and then get it back to the next finance committee 2 weeks from now then.
I know we're gonna have a budget meeting coming up. Keith, do we have any idea when we're gonna get the final numbers on,
Well, we know carry forward for this year was like 800,000, so.
next week or two?
I think we should hear from Dean.
We'd have to ask Steve.
Oh, okay.
Normally, we have them sooner than this, but I think there's, the insurance companies are holding up on everything that's changing with nationally, so I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, because we need to have that in the next 2 weeks at least, so we can, yeah, so we can, so before Thanksgiving, we're gonna have that meeting. Maybe we'll schedule it and then you'll have to have it done before our meeting. I mean, I guess that's.
We have to
maybe
schedule the meeting, like this.
Right.
This week.
Because we gotta give everybody the same thing. Okay, so we got that issue, then you have your issue. Doesn't have to happen at the same time, of course, so. we can-
Bottom line, we're gonna have a council meeting after
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Does any of the moms back there have any comments or questions, or?
You wanna, Jennifer, come on. That's Jennifer Carter, she's head of the mom's group.
We put this together because our moms had, Fred Green was one of the best located parks. It's in a huge neighborhood at the Young Moms, and the playground there is just, our kids go there and they don't play on it. They kick a ball in the field or in the net. So we all in the neighborhood will drive to the different parks around, and it's such a great located park. It's also an unsafe playground. We've had 3 different moms, kids fall off and break arms and have stitches put in because the big openings of the playground. And so we just decided that this was a project that we wanted to do for the city, and we raise money. We're a relatively small group though, so raising money is hard. We do it a day. We'll get 5 or 6 moms out there for 3 hours selling something. We'll get $150 or $200. So the funds that are not huge when what we're asking you guys to contribute, but it's come from a lot of work. What we want to do is put a smaller playground in for the 2 to 5-year-olds because there aren't any in Medina playgrounds. But if you put a smaller unit in for 2 to 5-year-olds, we want to also add one for larger kids so they aren't taking over the smaller playground. I know I have 4 kids, and so when I take my 3-year-olds to a playground, there's not a lot they can play on. But I'll also bring my older kids with me, so the thought of having 2 separate playgrounds would be perfect. And when we found this company, and they had such a great deal, we realized it could be a possibility. We could still stay under the $25,000 for the city, and our money could buy the 2 to 5 playground to put in. And then we realized, well, installation is so expensive. So we've all talked to all of our husbands, and we've talked to Home Depot, and we've talked to Kohl's to see if we can get people to help put the playground together, just because this is something that's very important to us. I don't know, I'm nervous, I'm sorry.
Well, we appreciate it. I mean, that's a lot of effort you're putting into it, and it's great. I know the other areas of parks, I mean, we have to address issues in the other ones, and we did a splash pad at Ray Mallard, and some of the equipment at some of the, Sam Massey, we have a new, that was a newer facility that was put in there, but, yeah, it's very hard, and it only takes community involvement to help solve some of these problems, because money only goes so far.
Right.
So, but we appreciate the help.
And again, I want to applaud your group. I don't know if any of you folks remember, I don't know how many years ago it was, 5, 6 years ago, maybe longer. We had a community organization spearheaded by Mr. Coulthard. That's how we got our skate park in Reagan Park too. So I really have to applaud you, and we are going to be discussing in the next few months, we hope to get your involvement too of a municipal pool. So keep that in mind. We don't want to lose your energy. We applaud what you've done, and we're going to need your help. Thank you.
Mike, In anticipation of that meeting, can you check and see some other cities that they have done work for?
Yeah, actually, they gave us references.
Okay.
I thought Sydney Penhead was one of them, but I'll have to look that up, Sydney Penhead Electric.
Okay.
It was smaller.
That and, then
The
we'll get-
unit at City Green is like a spinning toy. The closest was about 45 minutes away. I don't remember the name of the city right now, but they've actually put a playground in. But they did send over a list,
Okay.
huge list of references.
And Mike, you have that then now?
Had the list on me now?
Or you, no, I mean, you have it though,
Yes.
so you could forward it to at least public properties then, so we have that ahead of time.
Yep.
Okay. And then maybe, I'd like to have Don come to the meeting too then, just to talk about things as far as, because I see they're gonna take down the old playground.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks for all the effort, and, keep us informed, and we'll see if there's a better deal, or if that's the only deal out there with the December 20th deadline, or just other ones that are available. All right, thanks for all your assistance. We're gonna switch around again, we're gonna try number 9 next, because I know two of the Montville trustees are here, and I know they have a meeting this evening, so we'll go to 13-214, the reconsideration of the net profit tax for the Montville JED. If you all recall, we had a meeting last week, I think it was, and discussed the issues with Montville and with Drug Mart being here regarding the CRA and the JED agreement that the net profit tax, as you recall, the net profit tax was removed. We discussed at the meeting that the CRA would be granted to Drug Mart if the net profit tax was put back in for the future projects. And that's what we're here to discuss. And Drug Mart filed another application. It's a combined application now, just so everybody's aware. They talked about at the meeting a little bit, whereby their original project was 1.9 million, that they wanted the CRA 15 years for 50% reduction. Their project's now changed to $4.7 million, and they want the same, it's up to the township about that. They want the same thing, but there's no net profit tax gonna be associated with any of those improvements, because it's gonna have to be combined into one parcel. So just so we're gonna aware that project, there'll be no net profit tax, but yet the building's gonna be expanded, so this vote here doesn't affect that, because we can't change the net profit tax for that parcel. I think it's required, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it has to be combined in order to do the project, and that would be eliminated. Now, it's still gonna be up to the township trustees regarding the CRA on the additional amount, above 1.9 million, I believe, but that's up to you guys to make a determination on what abatement you wanna do with that extra $2.8 million or so that was added to the revised project. But I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, or, I don't know, trustee.
Well, yeah, we just received a revised application from Drug Mart, so we still have to discuss that, component of it. But I think what we're really looking at here is we have some interest in amending the JED to include net profit tax again. If you recall, when we first passed the JED legislation, the net profit tax was in the JED. We took it out to provide some enticement for a business to want to join the JED. Well, then we went a step further and passed the CRA legislation, which involved tax abatement. We feel we really don't need both components to gain some economic development. We feel one or the other is sufficient. And so with tax abatement available now for a potential business, we feel that we would like to amend the JED and add back the net profit tax. And I guess that's why we're here tonight, to have you consider that.
But we're still on the same page with what we discussed at the meeting, right?
Correct.
With reference to Drug Mart, we're still.
Right, we took care of Drug Mart
Right,
separately.
okay, so we're still good there.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Does
And we
anybody
don't have any other businesses that we've talked to, that thought there might be a no net profit tax?
Not at this time.
And the only disappointing thing is here's what a potential drawing of what's gonna happen is that this whole addition, all those new tenants, they're unrelated to Drug Mart, they will not pay net profit tax. That's the only, whoever they may be. I mean, there's a pretty large building they're gonna add there, so it could be a larger tenant. We just have, that's just the way it is, I guess.
Right.
So, even though we're putting it back in, it won't apply to them. Okay.
And as you know, both parties have to agree to amend the JED. The JED really, we don't feel should be something that gets negotiated at, each and every application. We wanna leave it alone, but we would like to at least amend it and leave it alone for now, and then, we'll just take care of the tax abatements as the applications come in.
Now, if we pass this finance, it'll go on council the next meeting, and then you have 60 days for you, the trustees, to pass the same kind of ordinance or resolution to add it back in.
Okay.
So you gotta do that, maybe before the end of the year. I mean, I guess you could wait till January, but probably before the end of the year. Anybody have any other questions? Is there a motion to add back?
I'll make a motion to amend the current JED agreement to add back the net profit tax.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for coming and.
Thank you.
But you have to stay.
No, you don't.
I got to change.
You gotta head to your meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Item number 2, we'll go back up to the top, 13207, budget amendments. We have from the finance, 2013-055. Keith?
This is for this is 3 parts, but it's all for the same thing. It's a CDBG grant. We need to loan the money from the general fund to the CDBG fund. Then there's also the appropriation to spend the money there, and then when we eventually get it reimbursed by the feds, it will be to repay the general fund. That's why I chose to be here 3 times. This is also, item number 3 is the advance when we get there.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finance, 2013-056, downtown strategic plan, ordinance 154-13.
This is a contribution received from the Stevenson Trust Foundation, and we have to appropriate the money in order to spend it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I do have one question, Mr. President. I know we applied to a couple other foundations, Kimberly, for assistance. Have we received any responses?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I'm not sure that the other foundations have met yet.
Well, I didn't hear your whole answer, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that the other foundations have had their meeting yet to discuss the request.
Okay, so it's still a possibility that we'll
Yeah,
collect
it
another
is.
10,000 on this, as
Yeah.
much as. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, 13208, advance request for account 001 to 125 CDBG.
The advance that I spoke of earlier.
Okay. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 13209, amending salaries and benefits for MCRC part-time pay scale. Mr. Wright.
This is just our 2014 part-time pay scale increase of the minimum wage for 10 cents. Eventually, we will have to go back and revisit this in the next year or two because all of the departments, the lower starting rates are all being absorbed by the minimum wage. So we will have to review it, possibly go back and maybe a cost of living adjustment as the whole city is, or discuss another way of doing merit.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 13210, 2014, membership renewal to Main Street Medina. This was, I know Matt's here.
Yeah, our support team. This is the brief version, we're still working on the full version of all the events and activities in which we participated in the past year. But this is the important one that has the numbers with how we have used the allocation from the city. Is there anyone else that would like a copy? Welcome to have one if you would. So every year the city has appropriated $30,000 in membership support to Main Street Medina. And every year we do the best we can with that money and do more and bring more people to the district. This year we leveraged that at a higher rate than we did last year. As far as our budget and in-kind donations and value of volunteer hours, we brought that in as an 8-to-1 return. So for every dollar to 30,000, we were able to bring in an additional $8 in support. Again, where that really becomes important is on the events and the people that we bring to the square, which spend money in the district. So with the events that we did and fundraisers and activities, we brought about 134,000 people to the district over the past year. Take a rough average of $10 a head that they spend in the district. That's $1.3 million in economic impact. So this year we were able to increase, and there's a typo in there, I apologize. Last year the ratio was 41-1. This year it's 44.6-1. So for every dollar that the city invested in Main Street Medina, we were able to turn it into $44.6 in economic impact. At the bottom, I'm very happy to say for the first time we have met city's financial commitment in private memberships. This year we had 83 private business members. 11 of those were new business members in 2013. Last year we had 65, so almost 20 additional business members. In private members, whether they're individuals or families, this year we had 44, last year we had 31. So our goal has always been to meet financial commitment from the city, and this year we exceeded it just slightly. So we're doing better and better at that all the time. On the back are estimates as far as projected total volunteer hours. This is something that we track every month as far as being a Main Street program. We have statistics that we report to the state and the national program. So around 2,700 hours of volunteer time, mostly through volunteers at meetings and activities, and certainly our board members and all the time that they put in as well. We had 103 committee and event planning meetings, roughly $32,000 of in-kind services, including the just around the corner 1,500 milk jugs that are being donated and 5,000 candles from Root Candle for a Candlelit Walk. All that's included in that dollar. So about 1.3 million economic impact. 134,000 people at our events, spent literally for paid display advertising just under $30,000. Those are monies raised through sponsorships that we get through events. So Root Candle for Candlelight Walk, Suma Health for Holiday Spectacular, for the Antique Show. That's in paid advertising. That includes actual event advertising. And then this past year, we've really strengthened the partnership between the city and the chamber, working together as a trio to just promote the city as a destination and a district. We realize if people are coming to the historic district, they're probably passing the fairgrounds or coming in one of the state routes. So it's all, we're working a lot more closely together as far as business recruitment and just promoting us as a destination, not just as the city and as the historic district and as Greater Medina. So this is where we are currently. I will, by the end of the month, give you the final list, the details, everything we've done over the past year. We have our chairman and vice chair, Ed Wright and Keith Williams here. If you have any questions, other board members, Emily Wright as well, your city representative, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or thoughts.
Questions?
I don't actually have a question, but I think I said this is kind of the same thing last year, but I guess I could emphasize it even more this year. That, you know, we have a lot to be grateful for, and exactly what you just summed up is in good part is that relationship between, you know, a really proactive city administration, you know, a great chamber of commerce, and the phenomenal work Main Street Medina does. For $30,000, I mean, I'm not sure that we could have $30,000 better spent. And when I look at the list, you know, having been around a while when we had one or two events on the square, and there was not that kind of a relationship really between the city and the chamber of business, and you know, this has just been a phenomenal success that a lot of cities are clearly envious of us to have. And I just want to share this one quick story with you. I was getting my free haircut, my Veterans Day haircut yesterday, and the girl doing my hair told me that she moved here from Virginia Beach when her husband retired, and she said she had a magazine in Virginia that said Brunswick was one of the top places to move. So she got a realtor and went to Brunswick and looked around, decided she didn't like it. She said, show me something else. And she said she drove to the square, drove to Medina with the realtor, never saw her house, only got to the square and said, I want to live here. I want to live in this town. And that's not, you know, an uncommon thing to hear people say. You know, they've seen the downtown, and once they understand about the schools here, I think they come here. But Main Street, you know, Matt, you know, you're the face of Main Street. You've done an incredible job of putting all this together and working with a lot of disparate groups to make all this stuff happen. I just want to compliment you on it, and I fully support the request for council.
Yeah, I would have to add, I think the hours and effort that's been put in both by you, Matt, and the other members of the board and the community for Main Street Medina. I mean, you guys have been a champion for the city of Medina, and I mean, you have really highlighted the main asset of the city, which is the square. I mean, we have an asset, we have to market it, we have to brand it, we have to make sure everybody understands and knows about it, and you've done a great job of bringing people to different events and showing Medina in a positive light that really has, I think, made the city grow and made everybody feel better about themselves. I mean, you have a better feeling when you go out there and you have these events. It's just like, wow, this is my community, and the community is thriving. And I think if we continue to do that, we're far ahead of other communities in the state, and we're doing things that I think other communities wish they could do. And I think it's through Main Street Medina that helps us achieve those great events that we have in our square and bring the people to Medina and highlight and showcase our community. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's important that we continue to support it. And we support it in other ways too, with holiday lighting. I think that's a good idea. I think it's been working well. So.
Yeah, one comment, Mr. President, I'd like to make. There's no question the financial support is incredible. It was what made Main Street Medina possible in the first place, was the city's support. But I think the thing that sometimes people miss is the tremendous physical support we get from City Hall and everybody here. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And so we can't leave here tonight without thanking you tremendously for the support we get.
And we hope Nino still supports you.
And I was gonna say, because I know, I think, Matt, you probably have Nino on speed dial, because how many times did he have so.
Mental telepathy.
Yeah, but I wanted to point out too, that as much as Main Street does, it's a great partnership with the administration as well.
Yeah, we look forward to, more events and bigger things in the future. I think the goal is to continue to do what we're doing and provide the sharing of the community with other, Northeast Ohio. And, yeah. Yes, Kimberly?
I'd just like to piggyback on the comments and also note that Matt in Main Street Medina will be an integral part of our downtown revitalization grant application to the state, because it is mandatory to have that Main Street partnership, as well as his support on reviewing the RFP and RFQs for our downtown strategic plan. So you can add that to the list of things that Main Street is helping with.
Right.
And I'd just like to echo what everybody said so far. And I can tell you, in my tenure of being on council, it's been since Heritage Ohio and Main Street Medina that our focus, I know, during the budget talks and a lot of our discussions are not only enhancing the downtown, but the entire city. But I think a lot of our discussions are driven by the accomplishments that your organization has made, such as future parking plans, sidewalks, different renovations. So, yeah, I support this 100%.
And I think it's integral in the redevelopment and continue patronage of the businesses on the square that we do this, because without a square that's vibrant, I don't think we'd have a lot of problems. Any other comments?
All it says ditto.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for all your efforts, and
Thank you
we look
very
forward to more. The next one is item 13211, authorizing a payment greater than $3,000.
Three of these this evening. These are the then and nows. We're gonna know the purchase order when the purchase was made, and we have to come back to council because they're over 3,000. Two of them involve a damage to a fire truck, which was obviously on plans. We can have a purchase order. The other one has to do with holiday lighting, which is always an emergency and can never be delayed. So that's why
It's snowing out there.
I understand. Some people are already wearing Christmas ties, as crazy as that might sound.
All right, any questions?
We'll take them one at a time here. I don't want to comment on the holiday lighting one. Somebody had to use their personal credit card on, but I'll make a motion for the first one with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
Any further questions on the 13211? All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 13212, this one deals with the, what is this one? 13212.
Second one's holiday lighting.
Second one is the holiday lighting, there you go.
I just wanted to thank Nino, because I think it's above and beyond when you have to put it on your own credit card, so thank you, Nino.
You put it on Mrs. McCauley's card.
And that is why I said really good thank you, I know, that, for her understanding. I don't think I think you need to introduce Mrs. Picoli to Mr. Coyne.
Yeah. Do we need an emergency clause in this one, or is it,
No, I just want to take the house,
Move to, they're all with the emergency clause. Move to approve with the emergency clause.
My second, which includes the emergency clause.
all in favor of the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Last one is 13213, authorize the payment of greater than $3,000.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, which includes the emergency clause.
All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next one we have is 13215, amending 13301, association memberships for the Economic Development Department. Kimberly.
Oh, well, I was told that the Ohio Economic Development Association was not on our approved list of, membership organizations, so, we need to have that approved. 'Cause we've been going to annual meetings.
All right. Any questions?
those meetings down Christie's.
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 13216, amending the joint economic, or the joint operating agreement with the Medina City Schools and the City of Medina. Who's gonna handle this one? Keith?
Mayor and I met with superintendent, or the treasurer, and a couple of board members on this. This is a issue where there's a capital contribution built into this. It's $100,000 a year. There's a difference that needs to be made up, not on our side. And part of this amendment also is that we will get together again and review this joint operating agreement. When we do that, I think one of the things that we're gonna wanna talk about, having talked with Mike about it, the mayor and I spoke about this, probably wanna up that amount eventually down the road anyway, because eventually $100,000 a year, building ages is not gonna be sufficient to cover the capital needs for us.
And I think it was 100,000 started, was it 2003 that this started?
The way the contract worked, the first year there was no contribution, and then it was 30, 60, 90, and then 100 a year from then. And we considered 03, well, it's in here that we specified that, I think 03 was
And you know the balance in there currently? By any chance, off the top of your head, around, roughly?
no, it's been contributed, but I have that, but not here.
How did the schools get behind in this in the first place?
They missed a couple years.
Maybe funding issues?
Did we know that?
No. They don't contribute to us, they contribute to a fund
Yeah.
for this capital, same thing as we do. So we don't have what theirs is, or they don't have what ours is.
But they're gonna make up for it on top of the $100,000 you didn't put in anyway,
Right.
so it's,
President, since I worked with schools and I was originally part of the original joint operating agreement even before I was on council as far as drafting it, so I'm gonna abstain and ask that another council member make the motion here.
I'll make the motion, but I also just want to emphasize what a great working relationship we do have with the schools, and I'm sure that it will continue. But I make a motion to move forward.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
All right.
Motion carries. Item 13218, purchase agreement for the Masonic Temple property. If you recall, we spoke about this on and off throughout some of our executive sessions. Now we're here in the Finance Committee to talk about the purchase agreement that was put together by Mr. Huber to acquire, or at least go into a purchase agreement and do due diligence on the Masonic Temple, which is adjacent to our property here. The purposes, we have a couple purposes in mind, if you recall, in looking at this property. One of them is to try to solve an issue with the municipal court facility, and if that doesn't work out, the other issue is a property adjacent to ours, which in the long run will have to be integral part of our expansion or development of City Hall or city services. So the property is on the market. We can't predict when that would occur. It's been on there for a few years. We talked about it for a few years, and now we're at the point where we have to make a decision and move forward and do some investigations with respect to the property. And I believe in this purchase agreement, Commissioner, if you could give us a little rundown, I think there's a due diligence period, where we're gonna have an architect look at it, make a determination of the viability of the building for certain uses, and go from there, but you can go ahead and explain that.
That's correct. The city has 6 months to have an architect look at the building and make recommendation with respect to its possible use. We do not have to purchase the agreement if the architect's recommendations don't if the recommendation is not something that the council wants to pursue, you will forfeit your money down if we do back out of the agreement. If we go ahead with the purchase after that 6-month period, Masons will need roughly another 6 months to find another place to stay. And so that language is also built into the agreement.
And I think also building an agreement is, even though they stay, we still have the ability to continue to do what we need to do if we wanna buy it. As far as investigations, some remediations, or some whatever we need to do, we have that authority and right to do that once we own the building, at least to get things moving, if it is going to be a possible location for a court facility or not, and the renovations that are necessary associated with that. But again, as we talked about, we need to make a determination if and what the building could be feasibly used for, and what, if any, portions can be saved or reused, or all those questions need to be answered that we talked about. But this is the first step, at least getting it under contract, so we can move to the next step, which is finding out through an architect what we can do. Anybody have any?
Just to make it clear, there will be a second vote after the 6 months to decide if we want to move forward with the purchase of it.
Well, depending on what the architect's recommendations come back as of, is it at all usable? Does it need to go? Can it stay? If could portions of it go and stay, the architect will give us a determination on the viability of that and the cost associated with that. Because as we know, it could stay, it depends how much money we want to spend. So they're gonna give us an idea of what that number would be.
And the only reason I ask that is I'm fine with this phase of it, but if the recommendation is to tear it down, I will vote no for that. And I guess I want that publicly stated now, that I want to try to save the buildings, so.
Well, then they're gonna give us a number on that. If it's 500,000, maybe that's feasible. If it's 5 million, I'd rather it being torn down, I guess.
And I understand that. I would just like to have a chance to vote that if it comes back that the recommendation is to tear it down, I want to vote no.
That is a separate vote. This vote is just to enter into a purchase agreement, at least to get it under contract, to investigate that, and then move forward to determine what we can use it for. We still have the right to terminate the contract during that period of time, 6-month period of time, and not do anything.
And it's our earnest money that you're talking about is the down.
Yeah, the earnest money would be lost.
All right.
That was what, 5,000?
Bill?
I think it's a good way to go forward, because we had this discussion about the significance, as Jim pointed out, the significance of the building to the community, and the possibility, that it could be partially restored, renovated, used for the court, which would be really smart planning. And like you pointed out, John, it's contiguous to our property. It would be good use. And my hope is that, it comes back and says, yes, it can be reconfigured, it can be used to the court. At least a portion of it, the significant portion, could be restored. I'm hopeful, but I think it's a smart way that we decided to go forward, to have it investigated by someone who's knowledgeable about architecture and historic, to look at it from the historical sense of restoring it, not simply just, would it be cheaper to just knock it down and build a new one? Because in the long run, it may be a little bit more, if it turns out it's a bit more expensive, it may be to our benefit again, as it was when we saved whole bunches of other buildings, which we just talked about, which is why people decide they want to be here, and the reason we can do all the things that Main Street does. But it seemed that through the discussions that we had, that it was the most responsible way to go. And as Jim pointed out, we get to the point then, once we find out, the facts, whether or not we want to vote to let it go, or vote to, somebody's in favor of turning it down. But we have that option again.
And remember, one of the main reasons that we're looking at this property is that if we were to do a new court, even renovate the current court, it would have to relocate for a period of time, and that relocation cost, we found out, was between $250,000 and $500,000. So it made no sense, this makes perfect sense, because we spend $500,000 to relocate a court just for a period of time, that's money that you never get to recoup. So in a project that's really adjacent to the current court and adjacent to City Hall, you're correct, it's financially responsible to investigate this location to save those monies.
And I just want to echo what Jim said. I'm excited about moving forward, getting the architect's explanations of what needs to be done to save the building and the costs associated with that. But if it came back to be, to have it tore down, I don't think I would be able to support that.
Well, we gotta be careful though, because whoever owns it, the renovations, because of the property code violations, it could end up that they tear it down. I mean, so we gotta figure out what's the best avenue to accomplish that. I mean, I know there is some property maintenance issues over there now, just because of the facades and whatnot that have to be repaired, that we have to take into consideration, that somebody's gotta do it. So, any other comments?
I do have one question on that point there, especially with the facade. If something catastrophic happens with the facade between now and in the next 6 months, who's responsible? They, because they're still a property holder?
Yes.
Okay, we don't have any liability. Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong with you, but that's, doing this for a living, that's my answer, but I shouldn't answer the question. You should answer the question.
That's why I asked.
The owner of the property is always responsible until title transfers.
I think that's right. I haven't looked at the contract in about 3 weeks. I had to go back to the provision, but I think that's right.
Yeah, it said the contract provides for that, so. I just didn't want to be the one giving legal advice. So.
Okay.
That's Kimberly.
I was just curious, has an architect been chosen to study this?
Not yet. We're gonna, once this contract is entered into, I think council has to make a determination. It does not necessarily need to be an architect related to the judge's recommendation. This is an architect to make a determination. I think there's two types of architects we talked about. There's a regular architect and there's what's called, I guess, an historical preservation architect. And that's what we would be looking at to give us a recommendation with respect to the renovation of that facility. Yes, Sandy?
The study that you're going to do, have this architect do, how is that going to differ from the feasibility study that was done on it already?
I think the difference would be if we looked at it from a preservation perspective rather than you can't knock it down. Because I think the feasibility study that was done on it looked at the issues of.
It was presented with 2 different options of usage. We gave 2 options.
Right, but I think we're going beyond that because we want the functionality of that building, as we all know from those studies, they're 12-inch thick walls. And the reconfiguration of the internals structure of the facility is difficult to impossible. So I know what you're saying, but there are still some features that we like to incorporate or keep with respect to a new court facility if it's there. Talking about externally. Internally, we understand that the challenges, they're almost impossible. Externally, if we can save something, do something, whatever, that's what we want to find out from the architect, because we have no idea how that would be accomplished. So we're in a quandary. That's, hopefully we can get some good advice on how to solve that problem.
And she brings up a good point. Hopefully we're not asking for any duplication research, from the feasibility study, and we're looking to gain.
No, I think we can give that architect the feasibility study that we have and say, okay, here's the baseline. Now we want to look at this issue. Can you incorporate it into it? I think that's probably what we'd like to do.
And now we have a better idea what we might want to use it for, so we want to see how feasible that's going to be.
Correct. Within the footprint that's currently existing on the property. So is everybody okay with that?
Well, let me just, I'm with Jim as well. I have, and some of the others here have concerns of tearing the building down. I think this is a opportunity to take care of a couple needs. One, to hopefully, if we're able to bring new technology in with an old structure and make both sides work, I think we're going to be able to fill a vacant building and handle a need that the judge has been asking for quite some time, and Nancy as well, on the availability of space at the old court, and maybe we'll be able to use that old facility for one of our other departments, or rent it out to county for some of their needs as well. So I think it's going to be a good thing in the long run, but I do have caution on the tearing it down myself. So
Greg, one question, I know you put this in, you did not ask for the emergency clause, but does it need it, or would you prefer it not have it?
I would prefer it not, so that there's plenty of time for this to percolate and for the public to have any comment about it. That's just my opinion.
'Cause if we pass the next council meeting, it'll be 30 days before we could sign it, so it'll be, probably be signed in the middle of December. I just wanna make sure that I guess they would be okay with that, the owners of the property currently. It won't become effective probably until, what, December 15th, if it's signed at that point, and you got 6 months. As long as they're okay with that, I think we're okay with that.
They haven't had any objection to the time it would take us to discuss it and decide what to do.
Okay. That sounds good.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next one is 13-219, amending ordinance 116-13, a CHIP grant. Sandy?
Yeah, this came to you a couple times already. Because of the high dollar amount of the project, it had to go through council originally. Then it had a change order for $444 that went through at the last meeting. And at that time, the consultant had failed to submit an additional change order that was with that one. I just got it last week. The work is completed, and they didn't realize the change order hadn't been approved until the contractor got his check, and it was $16.50 short. So, now we need to increase it $16.50, on that one for a change order.
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause.
Any questions? No questions? No? All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is 13-220, amending ordinance 117-13, a CHIP grant.
This is the same thing. This was a high dollar amount, so it had to go through council. This is, I believe, the first change order on this, and should be the only one.
Okay.
Move to approve again with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause.
Any further discussion on that one? All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, looks like that's the end of the agenda, unfortunately, except we do have a executive session request.
I will make a motion to enter into executive session at 6:18 PM for the purpose of preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of their employment.
Second.
We will be probably recessing into the executive session, but not coming back to take any action. But we, of course, come back and adjourn the meeting. Will clerk please call the roll on the executive session?
Yes.
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 And we'll be meeting down here, so we'll give people a few minutes to exit the room, and we'll have our executive session.